Let's just keep this thing moving down the tracks today. We had a big story over the weekend with a local driver who won. Clint Bowyer gets back in the winner's circle. Good news for him. It had been a little while coming, and we'll talk to Scott and Kirk, the RacinBoys, who join us from the headquarters of RacinBoys.com in beautiful Independence, Missouri. 28th and Appleton, I think, is about where that facility is. Scott and Kirk, good afternoon. How are you boys doing?
Doing great, Kevin. How you doing?
Kevin,
I'm doing very well.
Your memory is great. 28th and Appleton is exactly where we're at. That's good.
28th and Appleton. How's the air conditioning work over there?
You know, probably better than it sounds like it's working over there. So, yeah. Air conditioning is good. Well, we have a new air conditioner. Remember, somebody took the last one off the ceiling over here. So, I mean, you're probably in a better neighborhood. Your air conditioner's probably safe there.
Yeah.
But I think ours might be a little better because it's newer, I think.
We're doing okay here. We got several units. One of them that controls it's a two-story building here, and there's basically two sides to each floor that are controlled by air conditioning. So only one of the four zones of the entire building has a problem. Apparently downstairs they're freezing, and up here on the south wing of the building it's really warm. And the guy comes out, and I grab him in the hallway. I said, what do you think? Is this going to get fixed or whatever? And he's really nice, but he came inside. It's really hot up there. I mean, this is nothing. What we're dealing with is nothing, okay?
Right.
Nothing. There are people out there working today and real people that are hot, okay? We're not it. And so he's up on the roof, and he comes in to cool off a little bit. And I said, what do you think? Is it going to get fixed? And he said, well, there's two compressors that control that side of the building. One of them is broken, and the other wasn't on. And I said, okay. He said, well, we turned that one on, so that's going to get you some relief, and we're going to go get a new one and have that installed in a couple hours. I said, hey, that sounds great to me, and it is better now than it was earlier today, so it's getting a little bit better as we go. It's all good.
Well, I will tell you, after traveling in the RacinBoys bus for the last 10 days, the air conditioner didn't work very well in that, and so I'm kind of used to the hot weather. Actually, when I go in a cool room, it feels a little too chilly for me after the last week. Yeah. So
I don't mind the heat. I really don't. I
don't really.
I did
either.
get a little overheated, I think, this weekend because I laid down on the couch yesterday for about an hour, and it felt real good to lay down. I was feeling kind of queasy. I went to an event Saturday that I was out in the heat for several hours, and then yesterday I was at the car show. Scott, I sent you a picture of a car.
I saw that.
Exactly what was. I got to look at. I don't have my phone here in front of me because I don't like to keep it around while I'm broadcasting. But that was a dirt track car. Did you think that was cool?
Oh, that is the generation that I have the most passion for. Those guys that drove those cars, and I don't know if you looked inside of it, Kevin. It probably didn't have a seat belt in it because that was when the era was when you wanted to be ejected from your car because they thought it was safer to be thrown from it than ride out a flip. And it looked like an Offenhauser kind of midget type car. You showed me a front shot of it, not a side shot, but it looked like something maybe from 40s, 50s, maybe early 60s in that generation of cars. And that's when men were men, let me tell you.
What did I text you? It's right there with it. Call it up. It was the name and everything. Now we've teased all these nice folks. I was at the Art of the Cars concours, and it was at the Kansas City Art Institute. And my brother went down there, and he is a car guy like you've never seen. He's got I'm going to botch this. I don't know what year his Cutlass is, but he's got a Cutlass that he loves, man. I mean, that's his car. And these cars were down there. Somebody said one of them was worth $3 million.
Oh, I believe that. That was a Frank Curtis sprint car. You have a dirt track racer. So that was a sprint car. And, again, that's back in the day when guys, you'd lose guys every week. I
didn't put the year on there?
I do not see a year on
I'm
there.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
But I can tell you from just looking at it that there was a period where that car, that's probably definitely a 50s model, maybe early 60s, late 40s. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty familiar because we were involved with the Central Auto Racing Boosters Hall of Fame, and I was lucky enough to vote in a bunch of the old-timers for about 5 years, so pretty familiar with the look of those cars, and that looks like what it is.
Okay, there were two cars that stood out to me at the show yesterday, and I'm not a connoisseur, so if you went to the show and you know all about the show and the cars, and I sound stupid by saying these were my two favorite, just take it from a guy who's never really been to a car show. But these were the ones that impressed me the most. There was a car there called a Hudson that it said there were 17 of them made. They were handmade, and I want to say they were made by Duesenberg before he went off and invented the Duesenberg.
So was that like a 30s or 20s?
Earlier, yeah, 20s, I believe.
20s,
And this car, so there were 17 of them made. There were only 7 left, and it was like the blue ribbon champion of them, and we were guessing it was worth well into the millions. Had to be. And then the other car that it was kind of stuck back in a corner, but there was just something about it. I just saw it, and it caught my eye. I was like, if I could drive out of here in any one of these cars, it would be it. It was an open-air Mercury Montclair, and I believe it was a 1955, and she was blue, and it was the most amazing sky blue you've ever seen. And the interior leather was all blue and white, and it just screamed. The front seat and the back seat, with top down on this car, it just screamed, come sit in me and just enjoy a great ride anywhere you're going.
And it was original condition. It wasn't like a street rod or anything. It didn't have fancy. It looked like it was all original condition.
I think this one had been restored. The show was about half and half. Some were original cars that were just in really good shape, but it was all original stuff. And some of these people obviously had put a lot of money into restoring to their original status, but this leather looked way too nice to have been original. They must have redone it. It was gorgeous.
That's what I was thinking when you said real nice leather interior. Somebody, and a little upgrade is okay. If you take it too far, it devalues those cars. But Restro rods, they're really popular right now, to where maybe you might put a different motor in it, a little nicer wheel on it, maybe a little nicer interior, but not too radical.
No, you couldn't get in the show if you did that. This was the best of the best, buddy. You couldn't. They wouldn't let you if you modified it. It wasn't like it came off the showroom floor.
I see.
Then you couldn't have it. No, and I saw like 4 or 5 Corvettes there, and I thought to myself, how did these vets get in this show? These were the cream of the crop. They had to be the cream of the crop to be in this show, because there's 1,000 guys around town that collect vets, right?
Oh yeah, Corvette's probably one of the most popular, other than a Mustang. Yeah, I would say of the cars that are desired the most when it comes to hot rods: Hemis, Corvettes, Mustangs in that era.
There was a Shelby, an original. There were not many of those made. Did you know that?
Not many. I don't know what the number is, but
I think it was 200 and some, or like 300. Does that sound about right?
Well, it depends on what year you're talking about.
Well, no, yeah. No, I'm talking about the original, the ones that he made before Ford made a production car and replicas and all that stuff.
This was one of the originals. The Cobra.
Yes. This is one of the originals.
Wow.
It would have been maybe 63 to 68 or something like that. Does that sound right?
I think 63, they were 289s, and then after 63, they decided to put the 427 in them, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that, but I believe that is the case.
This fella had a sign by his car that said, this is one of the originals. It is extremely rare. There's only a few hundred of them. And it is made of aluminum, so please don't touch it. It will dent easily.
Right.
It says, this is not a reconditioned car. I drive this car, and I love this car. And we looked at it, and it was in great shape, but he had not, put all new stuff in or anything. And I walked around, and I looked inside it, and the glove box, the front of the glove box, was signed by Carroll Shelby.
I think he signed a lot of the original Cobras.
Original cars.
Yeah, and it sounds like, and again, I'm not sure, but that sounds like it could have been a 289 car, because I know it was a limited run on those cars before they decided to go to the big block instead of the small block.
Kirk, you love this show, man. You would have loved it.
When I heard about it on Friday, I really wanted to get down there. I was committed to do a race last night down in California, Missouri. Had to get set up for that. But I was just curious how many classic cars were at this show. It's a very unique location to have this show.
It was huge. It was huge, and they said they had 5,000 people last year, and they were hoping for 7,000 people this year. There is no way there was only 7,000 people at this thing. They shattered that. Wow. It was a big deal. Big deal. It was really cool. And I don't even know that much about these things, but I've got great appreciation for somebody whose passion is this car, or that's their story. One guy had propped up in the trunk a picture of he and his wife. They'd gotten married, and he had what car was it? I think maybe it was a Porsche. It was some kind of a Roadster or something that he got. And it wasn't a Porsche. I don't remember what it was. But he got it. He said, I just finished graduate school or something, UMKC. I got married. I got this car. A year later, we had kids, so I never drove it. And that was 1955. This car was a 1955.
Wow.
And he said, to this day, I don't have the most money in the world. I don't have a lot of worldly possessions, but I still have the same wife and the same car. And this is it. And the car, of course, now is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Wow.
But it was really, really cool.
I wish I could have made it.
Every car had a story. Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I rolled in late yesterday after a long 2 weeks out on the road. I was tired, man, but it sounds like something I definitely want to mark on the calendar if I have a chance to go to.
There's no doubt next year we're going to block out the day.
What we need to do is go out and do a little RacinBoys TV bit on that. That's what we need to do.
No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It was also pretty cool that Clint Bowyer got it done, man. Tell me how he did it.
He was dominant, and this is a racetrack, Sonoma, California, the road course, one of 2 road races on the NASCAR Sprint Cup circuit. But this has been a track when he was driving for Childress he was very good at. He'd finished in the top 10 on several different occasions, and it is a good thing that he goes to a brand-new team, Michael Waltrip Racing, in his first year, gets a win out there. But I think you got to really credit his style on that road course is very successful, and he was able to take a brand new team out there and dominate the day. And was a little bit touch and go there. I didn't know if he was going to be able to hold off Kurt Busch there at one point, because Busch driving for James Finch Racing, and they really hadn't been very good on the road courses, Finch Racing, but Busch won this race last year. But I think he handled the pressure very well there at the end, had Tony Stewart right behind him, and was the dominant car of the day, and he showed it at the checkered flag.
Did you guys see this quote from Kurt Busch afterwards? He said, I just kept thinking, he, meaning Clint Bowyer, I just kept thinking he's a dirt late model racer from the Midwest. There's no way he's going to be able to run this road course, but he did.
Yeah, I don't get that. I think Clint has proved he's one of the elite drivers in the series, because look at what he's won on. He's won on 1 mile tracks. He's won on short tracks. He's won on super speedways. He really can get it done at every level of Sprint Cup. It doesn't matter what kind of track configuration it's been. He's proved that. I think this solidifies him as a driver, that he's done this on a road course, and his track record shows. He's ran in the top 10 there before. This is a place he's very comfortable at. But also got to think about the team itself, Michael Waltrip Racing, and where they are right now with their program. They took their head engineer from RCR, brought him over to Michael Waltrip Racing. The moment that they brought them over, they bring Mark Martin over there. They've got this great chemistry, great group of drivers. I think a lot of things are clicking over there right now, and I think Clint, given the right equipment and the right opportunity, he could win at any track out on the tour. So I'm surprised that Kirk Busch would think like that, but I don't think a lot of people are. I think we all recognize how talented he is and what he can do behind the wheel of any kind of race car.
All right, Boyer's 7th in his point standing now. He is he's better off now on this new team than he was the old team. Why is that? I mean, he kind of expected to go backwards, didn't he?
I don't know. I don't think he's better off, to be honest with you. I think we still
he didn't
need
make the chase last year, did he?
Well, no, but still, he's contended. He's been up there in the chase. That's not an issue.
Right, he's 7th right now. He's within shouting distance. I mean, he with the win yesterday. And again, it wasn't an oval course. That makes it a little bit different. He's got a win. He's got 3 top 5s. He's got 9 top 10s. He's running 7th in the points. He's got a chance. He belongs in the discussion now of, hey, maybe this is a guy that could compete for this thing.
The best thing that he's got going for him, he has a win under his belt. Right now, we're getting down to the final races before the chase for the championship. Winning is at a premium right now for all drivers in the top 20 in points, and especially the guys that do not have a win. So this is a great step for him in the right direction. He clicks off another win between now and the chase. He almost guarantees himself a spot in the chase for the championship. You do not want to have to depend on that wild card. Being in 7th, that helps. But keep going after those wins, I think, is the right plan of attack right now for Clint Bowyer.
I could sense that Clint Bowyer was in a great place where we interviewed him over the winter. I think it was near Christmas time. They had taken the cars to the track for the first time to test since he was able to move over to the new team. And I think there was a lot of question how he'd be able to get along with his new crew chief. And he was almost giddy and excited after the first weekend of working with Brian Patty, that they clicked just right
They're
out
short
of the
track
gate.
racers. They kind of have that chemistry.
And the chemistry, I think, between he and Brian Patty was better than what he had with Shane Wilson and even before that Gil Martin over at RCR Racing. So I think he was almost surprised of how good it was after the first weekend of testing, and I think it just went from there, and they have really got things clicking right now. And as you mentioned, Scott Miller from RCR coming over to kind of head up the team. They're not short of resources over there at Michael Waltrip Racing. They do have the money. They do have the technology to be able to compete. They've getting great support from Toyota and the sponsor, the 5 Hour Energy. It all has come together that I think he is in a much better place than he was a year ago with RCR. And isn't it ironic that Michael Waltrip Racing with Clint Bowyer driving gets a win this year before Richard Childress gets a win? Harvick has not won a race, nor has any of the other teams from RCR Racing yet in 2012.
And he's right. Boyer's right on Harvick's heels in the points. He's only 3 back of Harvick right there at the 6th spot. So he's knocking on the door. Scott, you would know the answer to this question, and I don't mean any harm or disrespect by asking this.
Okay.
But I'm just going to toss it out there. I have thought kind of silently for a few years that if Clint Bowyer is really going to be something, then it's going to be as he maybe gets a little bit older, because I think he's kind of a hard partying, hard living kind of guy. I don't know how much effect that has on this sport. I don't know. But I see people in other sports that live that way or do things maybe differently than others, and it becomes a bit of a challenge. Is he growing up? Is Clint Bowyer doing anything differently now than he was 5 years ago? And is he still improving and has room to grow?
Well, I think he improved the entire driving career. Anytime that you think you know it all when you pull out on the track, that's when you're going to start going backwards. So I think he is maturing as a driver with the experience that he has gained over the last few years. He's battled for championships. He's battled to get into the chase for the championship. He understands. And let's not forget, Clint Bowyer, even at the grassroots level, has always been a great point racer. He gets it. He understands it. He knows you have to be there at the end of these races. But now, I think if you throw in there the equipment that he has and everything that's going on for him, and I think there's a little bit of Clint that feels like maybe he's the guy at he wasn't the guy at RCR.
But is he working harder and more seriously than before?
No, unless you were around him 24/7, I would say that he is probably more serious because he understands that you're starting with a new team, that you've got to give it your 100% effort, and you've got to have the right attitude. If you take, for granted that, hey, everything is good, I think that hurts you a little bit. So, yeah, I think that he's probably working a little harder at it than he has in years past, probably.
All right, Kirk, what is a decent number in the point standings to be behind when they reshuffle the deck? Let's say Clinton makes it. He's 67 points back of the lead right now. What do we know about the history of this series that you have to be within X number of points when we start the chase to realistically have a chance to win the thing? What's a comfortable number?
Well, I would hate to be more than 10 points back of first place. I mean,
10.
Sure, you got to get off to a great start. But if you're 50 points back or more, I think you're just at a disadvantage, especially when you know you got to get off to a good start in the chase. So
nobody's within 10 of the lead right now.
No, but I just believe that when you get down.
But
when they shuffle
the
points and they're restacking and everybody's tight, you wouldn't want to be down in 10th place that far back.
I think 30 points. I mean, you go 1 point at a time. You definitely don't want to dig yourself a hole further back than 43.
What's the conversion? If it happened right now, if it was over, he's 67 back today and he's in 7th, what would his number be?
I'd have to do the math on that and calculate up the wins.
It wouldn't be 67.
No.
Okay, so forget the points back. Is it about the position that he's in?
Yeah, I think it is about the position he's in, because if you're back beyond 5th place in the points, that means you got more people to try to crawl over to get to the front. Now, Tony Stewart proved that it could
I think
be done
it's more
a year
about the
ago,
points myself, not the position.
Now, Tony Stewart proved a year ago that you can come from far back and win a championship, but that's an exception to the rule.
I don't want to lose any listeners here. Help me out, because I'm like a lot of people driving down the road right now. This is a little confusing. He's 67 points back, and he's in 7th place. If the chase were starting next week, they would reshuffle the deck on him based on being 7th or based on 67 back?
Wins.
They reset the 10 drivers that move into the chase, and you get the advantage based on the number of wins. They
points.
Separate it based on the bonus points you earn, based on the number of wins that you have in the regular season. So wins count for everything for when they reshuffle it and where you're placed in the order to start the last 10 races.
There's 4 drivers in the chase that have won twice. So Matt Kenseth has only won once, and he's in 1st place. So when they reshuffle the deck, Kenseth would not be 1st?
The person with the most amount of wins going into the chase for the championship would be in 1st.
Okay, what if it's a 4-way tie at 2?
I think they go back by top 5s and top 10s after wins. I think that's how they go about it.
Second place finishes.
Okay,
second place finishes. Actually, yeah, Kirk is correct. It would be
Clint Bowyer gets another win. He's going to be in the top 5 when they reshuffle that deck.
Well,
if he's indeed in the top 10 in points, which we expect that he would be, he's 7th right now. Yeah, he'd be close to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin each have 2 wins, as well as Jimmy Johnson. He has 2 wins right now. So those 3 drivers have the advantage as we speak right now. We're 16 races in. We've got 10 to go.
Kozlowski's got 2 as well. He's running 10th currently.
Right, and Kozlowski, he's the 4th driver with 2 wins.
Okay,
right.
What about a wild card? If there's a wild card that comes in with 2 wins, do they get moved up?
The wild card would, if they're outside the top 10 in points, would get the 11th or 12th place position.
So they can't
and that's
get
based
moved
on
up.
wins.
They cannot move
If
up.
they're outside the top 10, the only way they're going to get in is being the top 2 guys with the most amount of wins.
Their wins mean that they get in. That's it.
Yep, I got you. But it's possible that, let's say, if Kyle Busch won a couple more races, that he could finish 11th or 12th, and have 3 wins and have the most wins, but he wouldn't move up. He'd still be 11th.
He'd still be 11th.
Still be 11th. Okay, you know where I'm going with this. This was fun last year with Carl Edwards. He went right down to that final race with Tony Stewart. It was a great finish to the season. It was very exciting, and a lot of people around here were really engaged with that. I don't know how many people around Kansas City have looked at Clint Bowyer as a real threat to win the championship. I think we're all fans. We like him. We respect him. He's a good driver, but we just don't look at him as the guy that, hey, has a chance to go win a championship. He's knocking on that door this year, isn't he?
See, I disagree with you.
Okay.
I felt that he's had a chance to win the championship in the years
You have,
past.
but most people haven't.
Yeah, but I don't think most people really. Be honest
when did
with
he
you,
seriously make a run?
Casual fans really don't know how good a driver he really is.
I'm not saying he's not a good driver.
Right.
We're saying, when did he come close?
Where did
That was about 2-3 years ago when he finished in 3rd place in the points overall.
And in the last 3 or 4 weeks, he was pretty much out of it. That was one of Jimmy Johnson's runaways, right?
Yeah, I think really what's happened here as of late, you're seeing the equipment get better at Michael Waltrip Racing.
Okay.
Again, we're talking about the engineer that came over for. Remember, Richard Childress Racing was struggling tremendously until they brought Scott Miller over there. That team was just out of sorts. And the moment they brought him over there and they started applying his geometry to the front end of these cars and his philosophy on how to build these cars, then they started showing improvement. The moment that he left and went over there to Michael Waltrip Racing, now their team is going through that process. They're starting to figure out the new geometry on the Toyotas and what makes these cars click, and Scott Miller's making those cars better. And if you look at RCR, they've digressed a little bit since Scott Miller has left. So I really believe a lot of what you're seeing here is going on back at that shop and with the engineers making these cars better at Michael Waltrip.
You know, another reason why I think he has a chance to win the championship, just look at how he won that race yesterday. He did not buckle under pressure. He had Kurt Busch tapping him in the rear, trying to move him aside. He had Tony Stewart right behind him.
Yeah.
He didn't put a wheel out of place. He withstood the pressure of the moment and completed the deal. And I think that's what Clint Bowyer is all about. I think he can handle the pressure.
Let me add to that, Kevin. The defining moment of yesterday's victory was in the green-white checkered at the end of that race. Kirk Busch starts next to him. Kirk Busch has to get a great restart in order to beat Clint Bowyer down to turn 2, because that's the moment to where the determining factor who got the best start, and Clint Bowyer beat him at his own game. Kirk Busch being one of the great road racers in all of Sprint Cup racing, and Clint Bowyer stepped up and did what he had to do on that restart, and that was the defining moment on his win, if you ask me.
All right, I'll leave you guys with this, man. I appreciate the extra time this week. This is a pretty cool deal. Clint's up to 7th down. He got the win. That got my attention, I'll tell you. Scott, if you had 2 minutes alone in a closet or in a room, any private room with Kurt Busch, what would you tell him about that comment he made about Clint being a Midwest dirt driver?
I'd probably say that I think those are just a bunch. That's just a bunch of talk speak, and I don't really believe that he believes that. If you want to know the truth, I think that's just a Kirk Busch throwing his digs. Who? Kirk Busch?
Yeah, he's from Las Vegas, right?
He drove legend cars. They're like little
cars.
4-cylinder motorcycle cars, and he drove some late models out there in Las Vegas.
But
on
he's
the
pretty
track.
sure he's better than Clint Bowyer. That's what he's trying to say, right?
Yeah, I think that's what he's trying to say. But
That's
you
a
know
piece
what?
of
I will put Clint Bowyer's talent up against Kirk Busch.
There you go.
You know, maybe not Kyle Busch, but definitely Kirk Busch. Clint Bowyer is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the top 10 drivers in Sprint Cup right now. I mean, talent-wise. So
Nice.
Yeah.
They also had at the car show yesterday a car. Oh boy, I don't remember the year. I'm going to say maybe 60s or 70s. 60s. A car that finished 4th in the Indy 500 that a guy has, and he started it up for everybody.
Open cockpit car, no.
Oh yeah.
Was it? Let me ask you this: was the motor in the front or the rear?
I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't. By the time he fired it up, we were running over there. I was 10 people deep.
Was it a white car?
It was. It was in the paper a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, I've seen that car out before.
Tom Strongman did a story on him. Mm-hmm. It's cool. He fired that baby up, man. It was humming.
I believe that would probably be a pre-66 car, if I'm not mistaken.
Front engine car.
Yes, and I can't remember the gentleman's name that owns it, but I've seen that car.
Kirk Elliott's high school car. They had a Corvair down there.
Corvair. Hey, I did not own a Corvair.
Hey, my mom owned a '63 Corvair 4-door, and you know how dangerous those things were with the fumes, right? Maybe this might explain a few things.
Yeah.
My mom and I went on several long distance trips in that car.
Nice.
Yeah, so we went to.
Corvair made a side ramp pickup truck. Did you know that?
Yes, I did know that.
It was there. It was cool. I've never seen anything like it.
Not many.
There was also a GMC truck that in the 40s was a work truck, but it was set up like a fruit stand. You just drove around and sold out of it.
Wow.
You sold stuff out of it.
Huh.
That's what it was made for. It was a production
A
truck.
vendor truck.
Vendor truck.
Mm-hmm.
There was really cool stuff there, man. You guys would really
We'll have to
enjoy
do
it.
that next year.
Yeah, cool. Hey, thanks for your time today, guys. And
All right,
if you
Kev.
talk to Clint, man, pass along our best. Let me know when you're going to get him on. I know you guys will have him on soon, and we'll promote it for you. And we want to hear from him. So that's
We'll
good
try to
stuff.
get him on this weekend. How's that?
Okay, perfect. Sounds great.
All right, Kevin.
Thank you, Scott and
Thanks,
Kirk,
Kevin.
the Racing Boys. Website is RacinBoys.com. Fastest website in motorsports. Go there for everything you need to know about local, regional, and national racing. It's all at RacinBoys.com.